All right, it's been a while. Been busy moving and working at my day job. I've had some of this code already working, and I just decided to try to get a video out. So what this is the last video or so we talked about Amazon Polly and the MetaHumans project, and I have modified it to work with Chat GPT-3 in order for someone to pull the source code down and get things working. It's going to take a little bit of time because there's some details, but let's jump into it. We are running Socket.io as Python. We are also running for the server, and in source code, there's going to be a couple of folders that have different clients. So we are going to get the server up and running. And this essentially is what everybody is going to be talking to. You get the server up and running first, and then for this example, I have some older code that takes my voice, sends it to Google, gets it turned into text, and then we send it to GPT-3 and get a response back from GPT-3, and that gets sent out to Socket.io, where we also have MetaHumans listening. And it will take that text and run it into the AWS text to speech engine. So let's get that going. And as you can see right now, Jabe is going to start responding to us. So let's turn on this.
Hello, I'm Ada. What would you like to talk about today?
What's your name?
My name's Jade.
Do you know Elon Musk?
No,
Are you a billionaire?
no,
What's today's date?
February 14th, 2019.
Are you a Twitter superstar?
Nope.
What do you want to talk about today?
Elton.
What about Elton?
I think you guys will like it.
Is it about a song?
No,
What's Elton about?
no,
You're saying no a lot.
colon,
Okay, I've got to go.
colon,
Bye.
bye.
All right, I think we're still running over here. So stop it, okay. He's losing his mind. So that was the first, attempt to talk to Jabe. Okay, so the way this stuff works is that we have obviously the AWS Amazon Polly project compiled and running. In the last couple of videos, I went ahead and basically gutted a level sequence that was playing. We just have a simple animation on the BP, and this is how you get it to say something. Then it waits a couple of seconds. The setup UI was on the original project. We're not calling that because we're not typing anything to the to Ada. We do have a speak event, generate speech, start speech, play the sound. Now this is going to get real confusing real quick. Nothing in the construction script. The speech and a BP that's attached to Ada is pretty much the same. Let's see. I do have my state machine still. And this can actually work, but it's not working right now. Okay, so let's try to pull it apart. We've got a level blueprint that basically is connecting to the chat component. I'll go over this in a minute. This is the chat component. It binds to an event, and the event, this is kind of squirrely, has the command and the parameters, and that's what I've added. And if the command is say, then we grab a hold to Ada and we call the speak event. So that is right here. Generate speech, play the sound. Okay, we have is speaking. This is the AWS speech component, and this is, when I check this in, you'll get all of this. My idea was to have a chat component that gets attached to the Ada blueprint. So that's what I was working on. And as you can see now, we can do another command, for the, let's say it says eyes, and then the parameters are, blink. So we can actually send commands to Unreal Engine to tell Ada to blink, to look around, and or play animations, things like that. So inside of the chat component, we are basically hooking up to socket.io on a particular channel, and we're binding this chat received so that we can call the function. Okay, this is the something else. Command event. Okay, chat message. So when something comes in from the socket.io, what we do is we are going to parse out what's coming into a command and a parameter. So we are basically here's the delimiter, we parse the information out, and then we switch and we say the first one is the command, the second one's the parameter, and then we call out this event. And that's what, when we go back here, that's what where it's going to come in. I just have the printing right here. Again, this is just kind of a, an idea, but essentially there's the AWS Polly, and then there's the Python code, and also the Socket.io plugin. Let me back up. There's a Socket.io plugin, and that's how we can receive the text command. So it's two projects in one. Okay, so the way AWS Polly works is there's a SDK for speech to text, but it also brings back the phonemes, or I'm sorry, the visemes. Let's see if we can get up there. We don't want that one. I am looking for not that. I always get confused in here. Event graph. I'll get to that in a minute. It gets really confusing. Real quick, at the speech BP, there is another window that I want to look at that I don't see where it is. And that has the... It's not that. No, don't do that. Don't freak out. I'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so let's get to the Python code. What I did is I went out and I've found a couple examples of GPT-3. There are some old, this is the old Google Speech API. I haven't started getting the AWS speech to text working yet. And then there's a couple of the PyVad utils that I modified that's been around for a while. But there's the chat utils, which was essentially an example I pulled off of here from a guy. And the way this stuff works is you basically have to prompt GPT-3. And then from that prompt, you can ask more questions. So this is this guy's code. This thing will just sit here and run. You can run it by itself, and that's the part that I added. Just real simple. And you can see it's talking to DaVinci. Sometimes it gets confused, and of course this has this huge prompt in here. And I think this chat log, I think this prompt can only be so large. So there might be some other issues to where, because it's going to be adding to this prompt when you ask, chat log, and it appends the information. So this gets larger and larger and larger, which was kind of confused me why it got confused. So this is the utils that I just kind of wrapped up. And then we have the, I think this is just a real simple loop. Yeah, this is just a real simple standalone loop in Python that you can use as well. You will have to have an API key. You don't have to sign up to OpenAI to get this to work. I'm not going to go over those details. Here is a real simple chunk of code that I've used over and over again, and it's in several different videos. But we add the Socket.io client so we can connect to the server, and everybody can send and receive if they want. And this is how you this will get called when somebody in the chat types something, and then you can resend that back out. This is standard Socket.io stuff. So what we do is got to run in async IO mode. We connect to the Google Speech, which eventually be AWS Speech wrapper. We get PyVad up and running, so it's going to basically take chunks of voice activity and pop that in this for loop. We send to Google or someday AWS. It converts the text, and then we ask, and then we append. So this probably needs to get renamed a little bit because that makes no sense. And after a couple weeks of not messing with this code, I can't even remember what it does. So print the answer, the chat log. Now, what we're doing on our payload is you notice right here, we have the say. So that's the command that we're getting ready to send out to everybody. And you can have a very simple Python console app that pays attention to this as well. We send it out on the chat message bus, if you will. And the other little trick right here was to sleep, and that kind of keeps all the threads and async IO and everything happy. Lots going on in here, and we have these little timeouts, and that could be causing issues. Now, one of the things I want to do is, since we can send and receive, as the metahuman is speaking, it can send out an is speaking event in here, and that can be used in here to stop any text to speech conversion because Ada is talking. So that's kind of the power of Socket.io here, is that you can build a little command action engine, and then you can synchronize, and you don't have to wait. You can sleep while you're waiting for Ada to stop talking, and that gives you a chance to go back and convert anything back to text. Of course, we're going to Google instead of AWS. My hopes are, in a previous video, I was using their kind of beta real-time streaming speech to text. Maybe everything will go a little bit faster. So that is, I'm going to get all this plugged into GitHub, and it's going to take some time to, if somebody wants to follow along, to get some of this stuff to working. But the idea is to have this chat component that is attached to the Ada itself. Right now, this chat component is just sitting out here. So, got to figure that out. But that's really all I've got right now. It's we've got the text going back and forth. We've also got a command engine that we can work on to smile and things like that. And it will still talk. I just wish that would be okay. We've got all that. Yeah, somewhere in here, and I can't find it. Where it's breaking all the visemes down. Anyway, more on that later on. That's all I got. Try to check the stuff in. If you've gotten this far on the video, I appreciate it. This is relatively, in my opinion, advanced integration stuff. Lot of things have to be running, and that needs to get smoothed out. So, for the people that are asking me to put it on a web page, yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. I get asked that a lot, and I'm, kind of working in that direction. But I can't, write, software for people unless I'm going to make a pretty big chunk of change for a long time. So it'd be helpful to kind of refrain, from that. But, asking me those types of questions. This is all free knowledge, and I will, let's see if I can do it. I was just there. Here we go. So this is the where it lives, and this is the original version. I go into some configuration, and this is not going to have any of the latest and greatest stuff until I check it in. So I'll try to do that later on tonight. You should see the other folders. I might check in the binaries. This, and this. That should be relatively easy to do. The solution. And in my other video, I talk about Socket.io plugin for Unreal. I would just go pay the $10. You can pull the source and try to compile it yourself. It's a pain. I just threw the guy a bone. Here's $10, and he's got all different versions. This is 4.27. Don't ask me about 5.0 because I don't know yet. And I think the main thing is for people to follow along, to even help me out with things that they've found out. And again, you're gonna have to have an OpenAI account already working for, you're gonna have to have a Google account. You're gonna have to have an AWS account, a bunch of software installed before you can get it running on your environment. So just be patient. But that's it. Happy New Year, everybody.